So life is all about misinterpretation or interpretation. That's what I've been thinking about lately. I know, excuse me. Ew, that was gross. I know I've talked about this before, but I really think it's interesting, and I'm kind of not fascinated, but I am intrigued by the idea that life is all about misinterpretation. The reason why I say misinterpretation, because people world see this world differently. People see things differently. Like people see differently. People see everything differently. So even this reality so if your friend could see you, how, what you are currently experiencing, like your reality through their lenses, then they would interpret it as something different from what you think or how you interpret it. Did that make sense? Like, like literally people see things differently. So there's no specific one answer to literally anything, I guess, especially when it comes to life. So that's why I said misinterpretation, because there's no specific like right or wrong interpretation of life. That's why I said like everything is misinterpretation, and every single interpretation of life is correct and wrong. That's kind of contradicting, I know. But that is why life is all about misinterpretation. And then the reason why I am talking about this is because, like, what if, the things you are worrying about or you are stressed by, like, these things are not actually, what if these things are not actually the problems, and they are just, like, you are making it up? Like, that is the biggest problem in your life right now, currently. I don't know what you have right now and what you are currently experiencing right now. But did that make sense? Like, what if, like, and also when I'm thinking about this, like, I also think about, like, this world is a virtual reality. Like, virtual reality. Right? Like, because, like I said, our brain see things differently. So even though, even if, like, every single person, like, experience, like, the exact same reality, exact same, like, turn of event or something, but since we, like, our brains see things differently, so interpretation of that turn of event or that reality will differ for each person, right? So I was really, like, found it really interesting, because obviously when you're just existing, like, you have problems and you have worry, you're gonna worry about something, or you're gonna be stressing about something, or like, over negative things in our lives, or painful situation, or excuse me, and like that. So but and we consume our energy and time on that, like, worrying about that and stressing about that, overthinking and overreacting to literally everything, and waste our time and energy. Like I said, right? So, and I was also thinking about this, but how can I word this? Like, something or something, like some sort of painful situation or some sort of like challenging situation. Painful situation, for example, I don't know what is exactly it is, but one specific some kind of painful situation for some in someone else's life. But sometimes, like through my filter, like through my lenses, if I see that person's painful situation, I don't see it as painful situation. This is just an example. I am not like looking down on anyone or anything, but like, for example, that's like, yeah, when I see someone else's, like, this is my painful situation that I'm currently like experiencing, and I see that, and I feel like this is not, are you stressing over that little thing? But that's my perspective, right? But to that person, that is like fatal, that is deadly, that is really like, that is really big turn of event that is happening to that person. Like, does that make sense? So like, people see things differently. Like I keep saying the same thing, but so that is good example. So like I thought to myself, what if the things I'm stressing over or that I'm currently like worrying about is not like, doesn't have power to stress me out, or actually it doesn't worth, it's not worth my time and energy. Like, it's nothing. What if it's nothing, I'm pretty sure you have some sort of things you are like, constantly thinking about. Like, most of the time it's negative and painful, and we want to avoid it. That's our survival instinct. So that's valid. But what if these things are actually don't exist or doesn't have power? Like it's powerless. It's like nothing. Yet you are spending your time and energy on that. Like how, like I thought to myself, how ridiculous is that? But our brain like make it like complex than it actually it is, or make it like bigger than actually it is. Like, overreact and overthink about it. But like I said, it's also the brain is just doing its thing. That's how we survived through the journey on this planet. Like our ancestors. I don't know. I really don't know why, but I was a little bit fascinated brain, brain or neurology and neuroplasticity, like brain in general. I am not. I am interested in the topic, but I am not, like, I don't know anything about it. I'm just reading a book about it. And then, why am I talking about this? Oh yeah. So this is a little different from, like, this is not, I read this like in a book that I was reading before. There was the author is like brain scientists. I don't know, like academic word for that. Brain scientist. And then he was like, or maybe he was psychiatrist. Ah, yeah, he is psychiatrist. Is that the word, right? Then he is like kind of like, studying brain. And then in that book, he said, like, since industrial revolution, since that happened, like, civilization or like human society or civilization like evolved rapidly. So that's why you know, our brain is not catching up with the speed of evolution of society or of civilization, you know, so many technologies. That's why we are kind of like, you know, that's why we are always depressed, or that's why we have like some sort of mental disorder or mental, like our mental health is compromised because of that, because, you know, our brain is still living in savannah or in the wild. So, but our external reality is like, you know, rapidly evolved. So the gap between like these two is kind of like making our mental health compromised. Does that make sense? So yeah. And when I read that, like I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And also that's why we see things differently, but most of the time our brain is negative. Our survival instincts work in a negative way, but that is natural. So like you don't need to like demonize it or diminish it, because it's just doing its job. That's also what I read in the book, so that's why I am fascinated about the brain, like the power a brain possesses. Because, you know, I don't know the specific number, but like we are just using our brain power like less than 10%, like, you know, less than 10% or 5%. I don't know. I don't remember, but, you know, we are barely using our brain because, you know, like brain is still in the savannah or like in the wild. So, and there is like not enough calories. So that's why we, you know, that's how our brain evolved. I guess I could say it, or I don't know, but our brain, like, you know, consumes a lot of calories. So, and, you know, back then, there wasn't enough calories to, you know, use like 100% brain power, or, you know, since it consumes a lot of calories, so it had to save calories to survive at the time. Like, you know, I don't know, it's how long it was, like tens of thousands years ago. I don't know. It's something like that. So yeah. And I sometimes think about, like, you know, since we have like too much calories on this planet, not too much, but, you know, like full of calories, we can get like high calorie food easier, so much easier than it is in the wild, right? So I thought, like, you know, what if we can use 100% brain power, or not 100%, but more than 10%, like, you know, more than what we are using right now, then maybe so many things could be possible, right? So I thought, that's why I'm fascinated. I am interested in brain science, or neurology. Is that a word? Neurology. Yeah. Why am I talking about this? I was talking about misinterpretation and interpretation, but also that brain topic leads back to this topic that I was talking about before, misinterpretation. So at the end of the day, brain is, I don't know the right word for this, but creating or perceiving the reality and, like, you know, interpreting or, you know, understanding the external world, and from, like, you know, 5 senses or 6 senses, I don't know, and then 5 senses in general, right? And like, you know, brain is the one is in charge of like integrating these like information from five senses and like, you know, kind of like creating or perceiving the reality, right? So that's why this world is virtual reality. But yeah, so, but I also thought to myself, human can see like 0 point, like when it comes to vision, our eyes only can perceive like if there is like full spectrum of light, then we only can get to like perceive like this much, like 0.0001%. I don't know. I don't remember the specific number of it, but yeah, like like less than 1%, like 0.00000001%. I don't remember that, but yeah, kind of like that. And we don't even like when it comes to also like auditory or like hearing, like we don't get to hear, like, you know, we have like biological limitation like limit to see, hear, smell, or taste even, I don't know. So, and like, you know, like five senses are the one like that things we need to like understand the external world, our reality, I don't know, right? But the amount of information we can get from these five senses are also very, very limited. Even though there is lights, there is sounds, there is some sort of like smell, there is outside of us, but we can't even get to like, you know, perceive it or even feel it or even sense it because of our biological limitation. I don't know if that's the right word for that, but I don't mind. So, and based off these information, based off like these pieces of information you get from five senses, then brain, you know, forms the reality or perceives the reality or creates the reality. So like how limited is that? You know, like I said, when it comes to like vision, we only get to see like 0.0000000001%, but there is 99.999999999% like so much more light out there, but we don't see it. We can't see it. And our brain is like prediction machine, but based off what we experienced before, or, you know, like the past, what we learned throughout our journey. And then brain like thinks, oh, in the past, when this happened, so this happened, so maybe this will happen, like kind of like that. So, but the amount of information it can access is very very limited, but it makes you feel like it is the exact thing that is going to happen. Like, you know, when it comes to like overthinking about something, you know, your brain will like make you feel like, you know, make up like negative scenario in your head, and then that it makes you feel like that is the exact thing that will happen to you. But that's not true, but that is not true. Could be true, but most of the time it's not. For me, especially, like when my brain thinks the negative scenarios in my head, like it thinks like the worst scenario, negative scenario in my head. So most of the time, or like 10 out of 10 times, it never happens. And I know that, but since the brain is a thing that is controlling you, controlling your body, controlling your reality in a way, so that makes you feel like that is the truth and that is what is most likely to happen. But for me, most of the time it's not, and never happened before, these negative scenarios in my head. But you know, so my gosh, I lost my thought. But yeah, so what I was talking about? Oh my gosh, I forgot. That's why the word misinterpretation is not wrong in a way, in this way. Like, you know, since we are perceiving our reality through like very limited, like based on like very limited pieces of information. So that's why I guess I could say life is all about misinterpretation, because like I said, and in that, and this is from a different book that I read before, but that is what, so, and the author was talking about like, you know, biological limitation, and then like that is why it is important to trust the unknown, trust the unseen, because we, like I said, when it comes to like vision, we only can see 0.0000000000001%, and then, but we are, and there's 99.9999999999999% of lights are like something is existing, but we don't get to see, we can't see. I guess the author was talking about like, you know, human brain is prediction machine based on like the past, your experience before, and that is limited. But unseen, unknown is unlimited, but we don't get to see it, we can't feel it, we can't sense it. Maybe we can sense it, but we can't see it, we can't smell it, we can't hear it. So that is why the author was talking about it is very important, or like, you know, it's much easier to trust the unknown, unseen. But human brain needs logic, or we can't trust something not tangible. So it is hard for human beings. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I'm pretty sure somebody needs to hear this. I hope so. But yeah, life is all about misinterpretation. I don't know how this video is gonna help you or affect you, but life is all about misinterpretation. So the last thing finally I want to say, like, life is not that serious. Like, I was acting and I was reacting like life is like too serious. Even like one little something negative turn of event happened in my life, I freak out and I overthink about like every single negative scenario I can think of because of that turn of event. Like a slightly little, like very little, even a little negative things, but I made it and acted like it is the end of my world, and I took my life too seriously. But you know, like I said, life is all about misinterpretation. So you think it's the end of the world, that is true, but that is misinterpretation. But if you think it is nothing, it is just life is lifing, then that is also true, but that is misinterpretation. Like, you know, there's no right or wrong like interpretation on life. When it comes to life, I believe so for now. So, you know, you can interpret anything however you like and whatever you like, right? So how powerful is that? You know, if you think something is wrong with you, then that is true, but that is misinterpretation. But if you believe that you are perfect as you are, and you are where you are like exactly where you are, like at the right place at the right place at the right time. If you believe so, then that is true, but that is also misinterpretation. But so, like, you know, you get to decide at the end of the day, like, you know, you get to decide. So yeah, and life is not that serious. Thank you so much for watching today's video. And that, I know that was very long video, and as usual, I was just yapping. It doesn't make any sense, but I like it. So if you are watching till this moment, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, and I hope you have wonderful, mystical, awesome, wonderful, I said amazing, miraculous day, night, morning, lunchtime, weekends, whenever you're watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and I talk to you soon. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you.